And now we move on to our second review of the podcast. The movie we are going to be discussing is Ford versus Ferrari, which is about the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966 between, you guessed it, Ford and Ferrari. And what a race it was. And what a movie this was.
Yeah, this is really, really solid. I really had a great time with this.
I will say this. Here's my annoying Gene Shalit headline. The film starts out stuck in neutral, but soon after jumps right into third gear.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I have to say, this movie did start really slow. And the two movies I saw this week, that weekend before this movie, did not have me in a good mood to watch anything slow. And I thought, shit, I'm going to see a third bad movie in a row. But luckily that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. I do think this movie could have been significantly trimmed down.
Yeah, there's a lot of setup, and it mostly involves just sort of the bureaucratic goings-on between why this feud between Ford and Ferrari happened. And I wasn't necessarily bored, but I definitely do think that I agree with you in saying that like the stronger bits are like the last 3/4 of the movie. Really stronger bits. Like the movie, it's one of the only movies I've seen this year where it gets like better as it goes on, almost like on a total linear pattern. Like it just gets better and better and better, and it ends on a really brilliant note.
But that's almost the thing that's sort of frustrating to me, is I kind of wish the last 3/4 are so good.
Oh yeah,
that it almost makes you wonder, why did it need to be this long? Because it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
and the fact that the beginning was kind of lackluster in a couple of ways makes you wonder why they didn't just cut it down a little bit.
Right.
And I get that there's the bureaucratic stuff, and not all of that was like super boring, but even still,
it's a lot of setup.
There could have been less of it, and you could have gotten the exact same points across.
Yeah, I've only seen this movie once, but I'm sure I could go back and watch it again and be like, okay, why didn't you just start the movie here, like 10 minutes in at this scene, or like maybe 15 minutes in at this scene?
I will say this, though, and this includes a lot of the setup. It did do its best to focus on one event, which is, to me, okay, the thing when I say I generally don't like biopics, it's because generally it's just kind of tedious to walk through an entire person's life or 10 years of their life or whatever. This takes place over, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly necessary to tell the story. But the crux of it is Le Mans.
Yes.
So that's what this movie did really well. And I feel like that's what 90s biopics or based on true story movies did better than modern ones. Mm-hmm. It was more focused.
Right,
as I said, by choosing to
pick the most important bits.
Yes, pick the most important bits, focus on those. That's what this did well.
Yes, I agree. And the other thing I really, really enjoyed too was the approach. I know that one of the things that you had mentioned was like, is this going to be a rah-rah, like, go Ford, go America movie? And it really isn't. It's kind of like,
there's more to it.
There's way more to it. A lot more nuance of like, no, I can see where both of these guys are coming from. I kind of don't like either of them. You're kind of not supposed to root for either Ford or Ferrari. You're kind of more or less focused on these guys, doing the grunt work and the blue collar work and building these fucking cars that are going
driving
them to please these big, powerful people on the respective continents that they come from.
Right.
It's really, I thought it was really solid overall time. The acting is really solid.
Yeah, we'll get to the specifics of the conflicts in spoilers a little bit more. I've got some notes on that. The racing stuff is really good. Holy shit.
Good shit, man.
Excellent. You know what I think that the best part about the racing stuff was? They did a really good job of depicting the fact that racing is a dangerous endeavor.
Yeah.
It looks fun and it looks like someone's just driving. No, this guy is driving
a bomb.
Like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
And could die from one mistake.
What I love is that, without spoiling anything, there are bits in this movie where like everything seems... You kind of fall into the lull. You get a little bit of highway hypnosis where you're like, okay, he's driving the car. And then all of a sudden, something will just happen, and everything will spiral out of control, and then all of a sudden there's an explosion or something, and you're like, oh, holy shit, that went down way too fast.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like they really paid close attention to detail to really do justice of depicting cars and the world of automobiles.
Yeah.
And just the fog, the bad visibility, failing brakes, all kinds of problems that happen with cars. And that's just compounded by the fact that these things are going 200 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
The special effects, I think for the most part, looked good. However, there's a couple CGI shots that I thought, like, that looks real fake.
I thought, I have no idea.
There was only a couple of them.
I thought there was one. James Mangold said there was like only a sparing use of CGI, and it was with crowds. I didn't know if there was car work or anything.
Was there? I thought there was one that looked like it.
I thought there was
one of the wrecks.
I thought there was one where it was a car. There was one that looked like CGI. It was like from afar. It was like an extreme wide of a car moving up a road.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell if it was or wasn't. But
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and then I just sound like a dumbass. Well, it looked fake. It's a real car. I don't know.
It could be BS, but I was there too. I was like, maybe there was like one or two shots where I'm like, I don't know, but I guess that's what he was saying. The sound design, though, also in the racing stuff. Holy shit! It's like that, just like God, visceral, like crunchy. Fucking like
it makes you want to be in one of those cars.
The gears, the pedal pressing, and the gripping of the steering wheel, and the revvings and the RPMs. 7,000 RPMs is a big number in this movie. It's just,
right.
I think this is a shoe-in for sound design and sound mixing Oscars for sure, if that matters to you.
Yeah. And you thought the performances were solid overall?
Fuck yeah. I thought all the performances for the most part were solid. I felt like some of them were a little over the top, but like I think that's the kind of movie that this is.
A little bit. You mean the guy who played Ford was maybe
Tracy Letts?
Yeah, but
he cracked me up.
For the character he's playing, I think it's kind of appropriate.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this guy's definitely born in like 1910.
I actually really like the performance out of the two Ford executives. So the movie is obviously about Shelby Carroll, who's a former racer. He's the American guy, played by Matt Damon, and then Ken Miles, who's the driver. He's the English guy, played by Christian Bale. And they're kind of at odds with Lee Iacocca and
Leo
Beebe, who are the two Ford executives. And I thought Josh Lucas, particularly, as Leo
great.
Beebe, really, really solid performance.
John Bernthal as Lee Iacocca, really good too. Real smooth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, and I think that for me also a lot of the like supporting cast were really good too.
Right.
There's a guy, Ray McKinnon. He plays like Matt Damon's right hand man. He's got the mustache. He was great. I thought Ken Miles' wife, played by Catriona Balfe, was really good. I thought they were fine. I
thought the family stuff. I mean, I kind of get why it's necessary for Ken Miles' character, but some of that stuff it felt a little long-winded.
Yeah, I get that. But Christian Bale, though.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, this movie's kind of hard to talk about without spoilers. So
yes.
Let's move on to spoilers. So, the whole Le Mans scene.
It's just amazing.
Oh, my God.
What's so great about it is that it's like you really get the scope of it being... It's like a half-hour scene. Like, it's like the whole final, 40 minutes of the movie are, the half hour of Le Mans and, the 10-minute wrap-up. Yeah. And you really get a scope of, this is a day-long race. It's fucking 24 hours. I mean, it's a day.
I mean, they can't even have one guy drive the whole thing.
No, of course not. And
I also liked how they have to run to the cars.
Yeah. It's great. You really got a sense of the geography of that track as well.
Yeah, that was another thing is, this seems kind of cliche, but doing such a dangerous activity in the beautiful northern France countryside.
Yeah. It's really solid. And everything leading up until that point is, for the most part, very, very good, too. And the scene I was talking about in particular is just when they're doing the race the trials on I think they're at LAX. Yeah. And then Christian Bale's car, just beefs it and blows up. it really gives you the scope of like, oh fuck, so okay, people can die really fast in this sport. Like, this is by far the most dangerous sport. Like, with immediate death being a fucking consequence that we have, and it's insane. You really get a sense of that in this.
Right. And of course, Josh Lucas. I see, it's hard to talk about his character without spoiling it. Mm-hmm. Or I guess, yeah, so we're talking spoilers now. So his role as kind of the Weasley executive was really interesting because, as you said, it's not just a rah-rah, Ford makes the best cars ever. America, fuck goddamn Ferraris. This movie is not like that at all because it's really, as you said, the blue-collar workers, Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles, versus Ford and Ferrari. Mm-hmm. And that was a really interesting interplay because Josh Lucas was, that's his name. He was Leo Beebe.
Yeah.
He just played the perfect weasel-like executive.
He's such a sycophant. Yeah. He wants to please Ford, and he wants to be the guy that gets Le Mans for Ford. So he's like trying to sneak his way in, wedge himself between. Well, and it's
Miles. Also, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to be said about that because that kind of carries over to a lot of facets in life, and particularly in sports.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he's a good image. He's not a company man. Mm-hmm.
Right.
People have these kind of hang-ups that get in the way of people being hired for their credentials.
Right. Agreed.
Oh, I don't like Ken Miles. He's hard to work with, but he's the best racer. So do you want to win or not? That's also the other thing that's really interesting about this movie, especially during the Le Mans scene. You realize that it's almost not about the cars.
No.
It is, kind of, but it's more about the team. The guys changing the tires because he said, "How the hell are they doing this so fast?" Because if Ferrari were to win, you'd have to imagine it's partly because of the crew.
Yeah, we were talking about the title of this movie a little bit ago, and I think it's an easy shoe-in for most deceptive title of the year. Because this isn't a movie about the pride of one guy in Detroit and another guy in Modena, Italy. It's not even really about cars. It's about friendship and teamwork and perseverance and like the ongoing and never-ending battle between like creative thought and commerce, and I really dug that, and I really thought that James Mangold in particular brought that out with the visuals, the technicality of the film. The whole final act is just fucking awesome. The acting is supremely good. Matt Damon isn't getting enough credit. He's really kind of the protagonist of this movie, and I thought he was real solid. Yeah,
I wish I was more of a gearhead because I feel like there's stuff, I'm sure, for people who are more car-oriented. Because I like cars, but I'm more of I think the F40 looks cool. Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that a Lamborghini?
No, that's
cool car.
That's a 55 Corvette. That's pretty awesome. I don't know, but I'm not a nuts and bolts kind of gearhead. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, just based on the people I know who do like cars, this seemed to be pretty accurate with its terminology and its appreciation of automobiles and their history.
Oh, yeah.
One other thing that's interesting about this movie, which, again, I can't say about a lot of based on true story movies, aside from minor embellishments, most of the major story beats are accurate.
Yeah.
The 3 cars thing did happen. Mm-hmm. Ken Miles coming in second place did happen because of the technicality. Doesn't that just suck so hard when
that blows ass?
Yeah. You're so disappointed for Ken Miles because you know that this is what
he's the guy. He's the car whisperer.
He was so far ahead.
Mm-hmm. God. Yeah, and the other thing I like too is that we're talking about like it's not as though this isn't a biopic of like one of like society's modern figures or like an allegorical exploration of like the underpinnings of like today's issues. It's like this is a movie about car racing.
I thought it was kind of cool though. It's just like we can have a movie that's just a story. Right. It's an interesting story, and it's worth telling just because of that.
And in movies like that, if you want to fudge some of the details, like fine, like nothing's at stake if you fuck up and like, oh well, this guy actually he didn't come in first, or like,
Yeah.
this guy didn't have a shitty relationship with this character. It's like,
Yeah.
this is where I'll allow that, because it's like, again, it's like cheating versus the Super Bowl versus cheating in a game of like Jenga.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. I don't care if you fudge a little couple things to make it fit smoother in Ford versus Ferrari. Like, fine.
Okay, for example, like, here are the things that I looked up that weren't true. The locking him in an office, I kind of figured that was...
Probably an embellishment.
Yeah. And apparently some people say the real Leo Beebe wasn't as much of a snake or whatever.
I also heard that the relationship between Ford and Ken Miles wasn't as strained as it may have been led to be.
Yeah, there was the thing,
off.
the part where he tapes all things to prove drag? Mm-hmm. That apparently never happened.
But again, like, what's at stake there?
Okay, but the major things did happen.
Right.
The 3 cars did happen.
Right.
Ken
Miles did pass away in an automobile accident while testing the next car.
Right. The major things did happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know this is like so beyond the point, but goddamn, was there a bunch of beautiful cars in this movie?
Hell yeah, dude. Old cars. Beautiful old cars.
And frankly, I'm more of a Ferrari man.
That's okay. The Ferraris look good too.
I was kind of rooting for them, just because those are purty cars.
I guess Enzo Ferrari wasn't even at Le Mans in '66, even though that bit at the end where he tips his hat to fucking Ken Miles.
Damn it! I wish that was true.
I know. I was like, God, that's a good scene.
Yeah.
But again, like, the movie, it doesn't really fuck my opinion of the movie up, because like, this movie doesn't like change my opinion about society or anything other than just like, that was a good movie. Like, the story is mostly true. That's all I really care about.
And I don't know. It's kind of an interesting event.
Yeah.
It's coming up again.
It's a good story.
It's still going. It's coming up this June.
Oh, yeah. Who's going to win?
I don't know.
Probably a European company.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much great stuff in the Le Mans sequence, too. Mm-hmm. The wrecks, break down his door.
Oh, my God, the door. He just fucking comes up and smashes it with a sledgehammer.
It was like a rubber mallet.
Or like a mallet.
Yeah. Ken's perfect lap.
Oh, man.
There was something in that moment where you felt like you were really pulling for him.
There were a lot of movies that came out this year.
I don't know why that seems like it's worth pointing out.
Oh, no. It's like they talk about it throughout the movie, like the perfect lap. Is it such a thing? Can it happen? Can it happen at Le Mans, no less?
I think the movie, it's simple. You know what I mean? It's, as you said, it's about perseverance and teamwork. Mm-hmm. And, the movie sphere that we have now, there's a lot of loudmouth bullshit. This is just, let's just make a movie about racing.
It's very simple. And I would say for me, there have been a lot of movies this year where I kind of, like, some of my favorite movies this year, in order to recommend them to people, I kind of have to check my opinions of them, not opinions of them, but what I know about them at the door and ask questions like, do you want to see Joker? Are you in for kind of not a downer, but like, are you in for a rough ride? Do you want to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Are you in for kind of a slow burn? Parasite? Are you into reading subtitles for 2 hours? This one, it's like, I don't really care what I know about you. You'll probably like this.
Yeah.
This is a very easy movie to like. It's very simple. And by easy, I don't mean like, this isn't like a Marvel or Disney picture. I'm not trying to throw shade at them, like, really. But like, they make way more consumable films than this. But this is like, this gives you both the art and the commerce, no pun intended, what this movie's actually about. But it's artful, but it's also just a very, very good story and not really something that you'll see every year. So I would highly recommend it.
I would agree with you. It's just, it just pisses me off that the beginning was so slow, as I said, because the rest of it was so good. So we'll move on to scores.
Indeed.
God, I almost... If I were to divide up the acts, I'd give the last 2/3 of this movie a perfect score, and then I'd give the first third of it like a 1.5 or a 2.
Oh, damn!
Like I was really not into the beginning, so I'll just kind of, I don't know if this is exactly the average, but I'll just kind of find somewhere in the middle, and I'm gonna give this a 7. It was a perfectly good movie.
A 7?
Yes.
A 7 out of 5.
Wait, oh. Oh, no, I'm using your heretic system. Sorry. A 3.5 out of 5.
I'd give this an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It's just short of really being really great, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought that the best scenes in the film that I'm really going to take home are the racing scenes, the scenes between Bale and Damon, and the last few scenes. The emotional stuff really hit home for me.
Right. I'll agree with you on all those fronts. So that'll do it for our review of Matt Damon stealing stopwatches.